Welcome to the Kinetic Life Podcast, brought to you by Kinetic Renew.
This podcast is dedicated to helping you find your way to your dreams, your goals, and your success. We'll be fueling that with key information on topics like health, science, tech, and lifestyle, coated with a few laughs along the way. In this episode, Big Brother is now monitoring your movements with a diarrhea detector. When you flush, put a lid on it, because every time you flush, it's a brush with death. Your gut instinct says cleaning dishes doesn't damage your gut. You'd be wrong. Plus, a few helpful tips and tricks to help you on your journey. And now we begin. Here's Michael Chalavutis and Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Kinetic Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Chalavutis, with my good friend, Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
That is me over here. No, over here. Look this way. That's it.
Mark, I don't want to look at you anymore. It's scary enough with that hair.
The hair is gone, much like Samson.
So do you lose all your knowledge superpowers now?
They are being hidden in another dimension for safekeeping.
Would you like to start us off with some interesting lifestyle news?
No, I would not.
Oh, okay.
It's, why, that's just what you expect me to do. But, are you going to force me?
I don't want to have to.
Okay, well, let's get down to earth with a way to relieve range anxiety in an electric vehicle using hydrogen.
So hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. Well, the current infrastructure is not set up for that, but I'm listening.
Okay, well, we know that basically they talk about it being a hydrogen cell as opposed to electric, but basically it's an electric car. The hydrogen cell is a different way of doing the battery. It is a storage of electricity. Has a lot of advantages and disadvantages. But one of the big advantages is it doesn't need lithium, which is getting harder and harder to supply and more expensive. And although they are working on possible batteries that aren't lithium-based, right now all automotive use batteries are lithium-based.
And we currently have no source of lithium in the U.S., at least not that I know of. It's all Chile or Peru, China,
or it's being delivered by balloons from China.
Yeah.
The problem with hydrogen is we haven't built up an infrastructure. Not that we're really that advanced on our charging infrastructure, but as people who bought the Toyota Mirai, and the new Mirai is a fantastic car. Basically, they took, I believe, the Lexus, the L series, the original Lexus, in its most modern guise, and it's the frame underneath that became a Toyota Mirai, which is a second-generation hydrogen car.
Didn't know Toyota was doing hydrogen cars already.
Oh, they were pushing hydrogen. In fact, they're the very first hybrid. So they were the first to get into battery, and they did not like. They saw a lot of problems ahead for battery electric, so they pushed hydrogen. Now, they're, of course, doing everything, but they still see a future for hydrogen, and they actually have sold some hydrogen cars, including the Mirai. Now, the present generation Mirai is not just, it's a test factory on wheels, and, Hollywood celebs get to brag they are helping push this. It is a fantastic car. Some people say it's a better street version in some ways than the Lexus it's based on, which is a fantastic car. But you can't refuel too easily. So,
and hydrogen fuel cells just be huge. That's why you used to see them like buses and whatnot, because they need a large compartment to support them.
Right, and it's under pressure, so it's all got to be. So basically what we have here is a company, NAMX, N-A-M-X, has linked up with Pininfarina. Now, Pininfarina is a Italian, I don't even know how to pronounce it, carrozzeria. But basically, they make bodies, they're like Bertone. Pininfarina, you may buy a Ferrari or Lamborghini, but the body might be by Bertone or... And they'll do custom things. A lot of show cars will be built by them.
So it's a good-looking hydrogen fuel cell car.
Right, and sometimes a Pininfarina, what they'll do is they'll make a show car hoping that, let's say, Ferrari or someone will take it, and they don't, but then another company says, we must build that. So... in any case, so they were working together on this car, and it has what they call hydrogen cartridges. So instead of one cell, each one has 6 of these canisters of hydrogen. Now, they say each one is good for 93 miles or something like 150 kilometers, although that's a kind of, they didn't tell us how heavy that car is. So we don't know exactly how that translates into range. And the car they want to have on the road by 2026 would be $68,000.
Which is reasonably priced.
Yeah.
Isn't this like the base Tesla around there, give or take?
Right. Also, well, they've made cheaper Teslas since, but a lot of these things start with a car in that range. That's one of the things, like Tesla, they always talk about the main original Tesla, not the little thing that came before it, that still sold the Model S as a luxury car, but actually it's not luxurious. It's a car that had to initially sell to people who could afford a luxury car. But in any case, the thing about this is, yes, you could go, if you have a refueling station, to get these recharged with hydrogen, but you could also have a full canister delivered wherever you are.
Well, it's saying because they don't have charging stations, their plan is to deliver charging canisters to you. So the total range on this car is 6 of those fuel cells and about 500 miles in total, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah. And they're not trying to compete with the really fast electrics. They're talking to get this range. They have, I think, a 300 horsepower thing. So they'll probably say, like, go to 60 in, 6 or 7 seconds, as opposed to ludicrous speed in a Model S of 2-point-something seconds.
Which is not necessary.
Which will get your neck injured.
But you could upgrade it. They have the $100,000 version that has 500 horsepower, which is a decent amount of pep, 4.5 seconds from 0 to 60.
Well, since we're talking lifestyle, that you might want to move up to that.
Yeah.
As you're living the lifestyle of success. But the idea that you can take, you have 6 of these things, you can go as the infrastructure builds up and recharge them, but if you could have it delivered to you right now and just change it in, not spending a lot of time. See, what you could also do, that means, is if you buy extras.
Put them in trunk?
But also it's kind of like, okay, I'll put 6 in and take 6 and leave it someplace to be charged. Instead of me waiting while they're charged.
On the design,
they didn't say
Pininfarina did a great job. Let's see if we could put the link somewhere in the description. No, sometimes the electric look too modern and ugly. This is pretty sleek looking, and they have the charging canisters all go in the back, and it's a cool green LED. But I guess the fear is if they're not in securely, you're driving, one of these things pop out and goes to the windshield of the guy behind you.
Well, if you're James Bond, you hit a button to send it through the window.
To launch it out the back. Well, it seems like if they continually make smaller fuel cells and work on the infrastructure, I could actually see this being more the future than all these lithium-based batteries that are heavy, and what do we do with them when they're done? They just go to a landfill. Not to mention the amount of damage that needs to be done to the earth to mine the lithium and all the earth metals needed for these batteries.
Right now, there's on both sides there are a lot of experimental batteries that aren't going to use lithium, and batteries that will be lighter and charge faster. There's also a lot of research going on in producing hydrogen cheaper and faster to fuel these hydrogen cells. So all of this is going to the idea of less pollution on the road that you're driving or walking by, which might lead into, something else to discuss.
The Kinetic Life podcast is sponsored by KINETIQ Renew. KINETIQ Renew is a 4-ounce shot of all natural ingredients that deliver some amazing benefits, like improved mental clarity, long and short-term focus, and improved memory and cognition. Plus, KINETIQ Renew improves mood with the added benefits of anti-stress and anti-anxiety. Here's what people are saying.
I drink a bottle of KINETIQ Renew, and I'm in a better mood. It's like waking up on the right side of the bed. It's great.
My mental focus is clearly better.
I do notice that I have better clarity. Definitely improves my mood for sure. It reduces my stress.
Visit KineticLife.com today. Log on now and use promo code POD1 for 30% off. That's 30% off your order when you use promo code POD1. KineticLife.com. KINETIQ Life.com. Do it now. You're going to love KINETIQ Renew.
They did a study to see how pollution, particularly pollution caused by diesel traffic, affects your cognitive ability and in your brain. And since they can't actually suffocate someone with, an exhaust because it's not safe, they determine a, quote, safe value of, a diesel exhaust, and they compare that to someone breathing in filtered air over a 2-hour time period.
And did they find out that the lack of oxygen is bad for the brain?
Amazingly so.
Ooh, didn't see that coming.
Certain areas of the brain that are involved in cognition and memory.
The default mode network, DFM.
Had not only decreased activity, but decreased connectivity to other areas of the brain.
And this DMN, we should be broadcasting on the default mode network. It sounds cool. But it's important for cognition, memory, and emotions. Boy.
Do you need those functions? I don't know.
Some people use things like that.
Some, not everyone.
Not everyone. Well,
so this is
popular enough.
This is the beginning of it's a small scale test. Obviously, the results make sense that there's negative impact, though they did say that over a short period of time, the activity in the default mode network recovered. But that's over short-term exposure. If you're constantly driving with the window down or in a high pollutant city, that perpetual exposure will lead to, maybe long-lasting detriment. Which this says it's important to make sure you have a proper filter on your car, because your cars have air filters, so make sure it's working and you have a good one in it, and drive with the windows closed.
Well, I have already spoken to important people at our sponsor, KINETIQ, because they make products to help with things like, cognition, memory, brain health, and I've been trying to suggest to them that we should get the rights to Perry Air. That was first, the product placement was in Mel Brooks' Spaceballs.
Great movie.
And basically saying that if you need to accomplish a mental task in a place without sufficient oxygen because of the fumes, maybe we should sell you good canned air.
Fresh canned air from the Alps or something?
Because it's good for...
Good for the old noggin.
For the that's right. Good for the noggin.
So, you talk about people living in urban environments being less happy and maybe angrier. There's many reasons for that, but the perpetual, the increased air pollutants from cars and everything else are leading to that. And I remember reading a study, this was years ago, done in Mexico City.
Ooh, and for people who don't realize it, Mexico City is like take the population of 3 New Yorks and squish them together.
Yeah. Air quality is also very terrible. And they were doing autopsies on younger individuals that were hit by cars and, accidents that led to their death. And looking at their brains, there was... they had the brains of 80-year-olds, the amount of plaque on their brains. And they were determining that the air pollutants might have, played a role in that.
And there's something else about Mexico City. It's not only population that makes New York look uncluttered, it's also at an altitude that makes Denver look sea level. So
They didn't mention that as a factor, but that definitely could
They
have
did
been
mention
one.
it, or they didn't?
I don't recall.
because
but
you got to add it in, and again with less good oxygen and
then more
pol-
pollutants.
It's
a double whammy of bad.
Yeah, it's a bad place to have to breathe.
I challenge you to make your life a masterpiece. I challenge you to join the ranks of those people who live what they teach, who walk their talk. I believe life is consistently testing us for our level of commitment, and life's greatest rewards are reserved for those who demonstrate a never-ending commitment to act until they achieve. This level of resolve can move mountains, but it must be constant and consistent. Tony Robbins.
Are you ready for some fun time with poop, Mark?
Are you implying that I'm too pooped to go on to the next topic? Ah!
I think you might be. So Big Brother is at it. It's tracking your internet. He's tracking where you drive. Now he's tracking your poop.
He's a poop peeper?
He's a poop peeper.
He's a poop peeper. Do you want to tell people about this?
I will let you
want me to spill the poop?
I will let you spill the poop.
I got the scoop of the poop. And it's not just following my dog with a pooper scooper. I'm a scooper. I am the lowest lane of poop. Okay. Basically, they have realized that you can do something for general health screening in an area and to help with outbreaks by listening for problems. And specifically in this case, they're saying there are certain things that will cause, let's say, diarrhea. And when too many people have diarrhea, there's a potential cholera outbreak. So they have these microphone sound only, no video.
Machine
nudge,
learning.
Nudge, wink, wink. Listening in public bathrooms with machine learning to fine tune. And by listening for the sounds of how people poop, they could start seeing if there's way too much of the wrong kind of poop sounds, which might mean that way too many people are starting to get sick, which could mean that there's an outbreak of something like cholera.
As they call it, the distinct audio signature of a loose, watery bowel. They taught this device other excretion event sounds, urination, quote, normal defecation, and diarrhea. The plan is to put this to determine outbreaks in, certain regions that this is an issue. But they also mention, that the possibilities of its use are endless, from disaster areas that usually have water contamination to, the local nursing home, which kind of seems ridiculous because if it's a disaster area, then power and whatnot's an issue. We're going to make sure we power our poop detector.
Well, like emergency lights in a stairway, when power goes out, these things could have their own
backup battery.
Or perhaps a really small hydrogen cell.
I mean, I get it. I do. I understand, the knowledge that they could gather, but I just seems a little ridiculous that, we're putting money, research grants to devices to
are you
tracking
whoa. Are you saying that someone is throwing money down the toilet?
That's a good way of putting it. Yes. Not that our federal government would spend money in a
what's this federal government?
Things.
I don't know if they
I don't
fund
know.
this. Or,
it was I think so. It was a school in Georgia.
Ooh.
But where did the schools get the grant money anyway?
Of course, you could also do something. You can now turn a prank into a bigger prank, which is, let's say, grind up some X-Lax and sneak it into all the chocolate at a movie theater.
There's cholera outbreak everywhere.
And then the spying on the toilets will have them declare a health emergency in the area.
Or you just get an audio device with a, quote, loose stool noise
And play?
play it in the bathrooms.
You're skipping all the fun parts. That's why you can't film like a Revenge of the Nerds movie or something with you writing such a logical, easy way to get around the prank.
That's why. That's why you keep me around. Stop all the fun.
Yeah, you're a poop party pooper. So, any more toilet humor coming from you?
Yeah, this one actually kind of scared me. They did a study looking at, quote, toilet plumes. So you don't realize that if you do not shut the top of the toilet before flushing, a plume of micro droplets gets launched up in the flushing process, and it sprays your wall, your toothbrush if it's close by, anything in the area.
Beautiful plumage this time of year.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, you might have heard about this before, but the visual, which ideally I'll be able to insert this link as well, they use a green light laser in a dark room.
Hold on. Got to give a warning. If we can manage to get the link up and you look at this, you cannot unsee it.
Yeah, it's disturbing how, they
You
don't...
know how with Jaws they had these advertisements, you'll be scared to go in the ocean, you'll be scared to flush the toilet.
Yes, you'd be scared to go to a public restroom, and you'll be shutting your toilet. I mean, they know there's droplets kind of pop up a little bit. These things, they launch up and they spread out, and they're super tiny. They could get into your lungs. You don't realize.
That's what they always. Again, they were going for generations. It was known that when you flush, there's always going to be something coming up. But they never measured it. And they now found they used these lasers, I think 2 green lasers, one kind of first illuminates and the other then shows the action. But they thought that you would have this slowly wafting up little bit of some stuff that would then start settling down. And it turned out that you had this explosion. It was coming out like these micro particles, as you described, but they said were too small for your nose hairs to filter out.
Which is scary.
And they said these things shot. So they didn't like waft and not make, they like hit the ceiling like bullets. They said the initial stuff would go up and back, so it would cover the back wall, spread all over, and then there'd be more coming, and it contains anything. Everything
so if you
that's
had a loose stool and then you flush, it is just...
in there gets little micro aerosol out. So it doesn't even have to be public. Going, I can't have my toothbrush in a bathroom where a toilet flushes.
Yeah, well, and they were talking that they did it in an open room without people, that in a public restroom with, I guess, walls and people walking around, it could be magnitudes worse, which is... If you're a germaphobe, this is disturbing. For myself, I will be a lot more conscious on making sure that toilet seat is flushed at home. I mean, is down before I flush anything at home.
Mm-hmm. And it's also going, I wouldn't flush that toilet without a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
And now I really want the mask on. Oh no, since I read this a little while ago... what really got me is somebody going was at a public place, and I'm well aware of, and all of a sudden, because sometimes the automatic toilet flushes while you're still there, and
oh yeah,
going, it attacked me.
Yeah. No, it's a whole new look at things very differently, especially when it comes to public restrooms.
It's also another good reason. Was it a Seinfeld episode where they had men who prefer to sit down, never use a urinal and sit down, going, well, at least if you flush that way.
Oh yeah, but spraying all over you.
You'll take it in the backside. Well, if it's, you make sure it's all very clean before you do your stuff, and it's, at least your backside is protecting you. It's basically, at most, what you're doing is your own self fecal transplant instead of breathing. I like to connect all of our different science episodes.
Yeah.
Or is this lifestyle?
This is how to improve your lifestyle. Avoid public bathrooms. That's what we're learning here, and make sure the seats down at home before you flush.
And that's why this episode of the Kinetic Life podcast is instead brought to you by Adult Diapers. Never have to use a toilet again.
It's a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. Author unknown. Throw me to the wolves and I will return leading the pack. Author unknown. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Author unknown. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Author unknown. When everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind, not with it. Henry Ford.
So apparently, commercial dishwashers, while they're effective at blasting dirt off and covering your dishes with detergent, if the spin cycle or the wash cycle is too short, there is a residue left of the detergent on the dishes that eventually dries the dishes. And some new research has shown that this residue may be harming your gut biome.
Actually, it was harming your gut.
Oh, your gut in general.
It was they were talking that the chemicals they were worried could be in these things, and a lot of them are the stuff that this will keep. It's not just a detergent, but this will keep spots from staying on your glasses. It gets things moving off. And the chemicals they always believed didn't harm human cells, but now they find that the very specific cells lining the gut are a bit different, and these are caustic to them. So you can be too clean. Now, they were talking mainly about industrial dishwashers, and they were going, number one, they need a longer rinse cycle after to get rid of it, but they were also saying that even to the gut, it wasn't dangerous in amounts. I'm trying to remember, but it was something like, if it's 1 in 10,000 particles, it's probably not a big problem. If it's less than that, that may have been the borderline. And they said home dishwashers, it's like 1 in 2,000. So even if it's not washed off, it's 5 times better than when you have to start worrying. But the industrial ones, they said, could be 80,000. And on the one hand, what they might be saying is, they actually have more concentrated cleaning to clean better. It's not that this is a bad thing. It's they're actually trying to do a stronger job. Problem is, it leaves stronger
1 in
residue.
80,000 is the domestic dishwasher. Their concern is the short cycle on commercial.
Right, which is 80,000 if I'm remembering right.
1 in 2,000.
No. 1 in 2,000 was the home dishwasher. The commercial, the danger zone.
They're talking about dilution factor, so it's
Right.
more diluted.
That's what I'm saying. 1 in 2,000. So it's the 1 in 10,000 get below that and you're safe, and the home dishwasher is 1 in 2,000. But the commercial dishwasher, which has a much more concentrated cleaning action, could be 8 times that 10,000 limit. So it's 8 times. Or am I we're going backwards. Whatever. The
biggest, there's a less dilution factor on a short cycle for commercial.
Well, the commercial has more concentrated chemicals to work better, but it also leaves a more concentrated residue, which is above the danger factor, and I may have just reversed all the numbers. So there.
So yeah, at home you're fine, which is
I probably don't have enough unpolluted air in this closed, sealed-off sound booth.
So yes, at home you're fine. The concern is out commercial, short cycle, and most of my knowledge is that what's tested from the health department is just temperature, that it gets hot enough. They don't talk about how long or short the cycles are. So it's a hot plate, it's clean, but it might be hot and detergent's plastered to it and you're taking it in.
Which is why, to me, the fanciest way to be served in an expensive restaurant is on a paper plate. But the environmentalists still came going, better you die from the residue than...
Well, I guess don't eat out that much, which, these days things are expensive, so you're doing less of. So, yeah, what we learned today, we learned that you shouldn't eat out that much.
Don't use toilet. Don't use clean dishes.
Don't use the toilet. Yeah, don't use the clean dishes. Watch, the Big Brother's watching you.
Don't breathe the air.
Yeah, don't breathe the air.
Don't
Big
breathe the
Brother's
air.
watching you poop, listening to you poop. And hydrogen fuel cells might be the way of the future. That's
right.
the one good thing. Everything else is scary
All
to me.
the other things are saying we got to get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, perhaps you should stock up on enough hydrogen canisters to have the range to get someplace else.
And when you get there, don't use a public restroom. Or on the way there.
Okay, so I need a hydrogen-powered motorhome with my own bathroom in it.
And make sure that it seats down when you flush.
I think what it'll do is you have one where you can shut the thing, walk to the 20 feet away, and hit a button on the dash panel to flush the toilet.
Now that you mention that, it makes me think of airplane toilets.
I was thinking the same thing.
They have so much more suction, but is there a reverse plume that's that much stronger?
No, I was thinking there's always the thing of something falls out of an airplane. Every once in a while you hear someone complaining, a pigeon just pooped on my windshield. A big bird just pooped on my windshield. A flock of pigeons pooped on my windshield. And then you get a 747 just pooped on my windshield. Every once in a while, the collected poop gets dumped in the wrong place.
So I had to look it up. Airlines are not allowed to dump their waste tanks mid-flight. Mm-hmm. And pilots have no mechanism to evacuate the waste tanks. But leaks do occur from the septic tank. So,
and to help with this, our temporary this episode only sponsor is now making a 747 sized adult diaper.
Or it could be a great new commercial for Flex Seal. Stop that plane from pooping on you.
I can see an episode of Air Disasters. At its last stopover, the mechanic applied Flex Seal to the bottom of.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Really appreciate you joining us today. Appreciate all the emails, positive comments. If you have any questions or something, a topic you'd like to talk to us about, please email us at podcast@KINETIQ, KINETIQ, life.com. We accept, recommendations, criticism towards Dr. Mark Hertzberg, not myself, and anything else that you need. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends, family. Reviews always help. As always, I'm your host, Mike Shalavudis.
And I'm Mark Hertzberg, who accepts all the criticism. I feel like Charlie Brown working with Lucy.
Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
We're sponsored by KINETIQ Renew. KINETIQ Renew is the 4-round shot of all natural ingredients that deliver some amazing benefits, like improved mental clarity, long and short-term focus, and improved memory and cognition. Plus, KINETIQ Renew improves mood with the added benefits of anti-stress and anti-anxiety. KINETIQ Renew provides antioxidants and neuroprotection. And all this with no caffeine, no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors, and it's only 5 calories. KINETIQ Renew is what you drink to arrive focused and alert, and you won't get that caffeine or sugar crash. Visit KINETIQLife.com today. That's KINETIQ Life.com and try it. Use promo code POD1 for a special 30% discount. That's POD and the number 1, POD1 for a limited time 30% discount. KINETIQLife.com. KINETIQ Life.com. Do it now. Give it a try. You're going to love it. The 30% off is for a limited time, so log on now for the savings. Thank you for listening to the KINETIQ Life podcast. Catch a new show every other Thursday. You'll find us everywhere you can listen to a podcast. And remember, be safe, have fun, and go for your dreams. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. All comments, jokes, views, and ideas expressed are those of the hosts or guests and do not represent any company or organizations with whom they may be affiliated. Always make sure to consult your own physician before starting any new diet, supplement, or exercise routine. Oh, and there's one more thing. If you're working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. Steve Jobs.